more than 7,000 people have died in southern Thailand's conflict. To put that in perspective, that death toll surpasses the combined casualties of the most infamous militant attacks across the rest of Southeast Asia, including the devastation seen here in the aftermath of the Bali bombings. Yet, you rarely hear about it. You won't find hostage videos broadcast on global news networks, and no well-known international terror groups step forward to claim responsibility for the violence. The Thai government has actively cultivated this obscurity. When state officials address the violence, they strictly use terms like banditry or internal disorder. They refuse to classify the groups involved as separatists or terrorists. This is a deliberate geopolitical calculation. Acknowledging a separatist movement would validate the insurgents' political goals. Acknowledging terrorism risks drawing unwanted foreign military intervention and international scrutiny into domestic affairs. To figure out what the state is trying to hide behind that bureaucratic language, we have to examine the history they erased. This map illustrates the 1909 Anglo-Siamese Treaty. It shows exactly how the historic Malay-Muslim Sultanate of Patani was severed from the rest of the peninsula. Without any input from the people living there, 3 provinces were suddenly absorbed into Buddhist-majority Siam. Following the annexation, the state enforced rigid assimilation policies. Local dialects were banned in favor of the Thai language, and traditional Islamic schools were heavily suppressed. In 1947, a respected religious leader named Haji Sulong formally requested political autonomy and language rights for the region. The government responded by imprisoning him, and a few years later, he vanished completely, an event widely understood by locals to be a state-sponsored disappearance. His disappearance triggered decades of armed resistance. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, various secular, nationalistic guerrilla groups formed, taking up arms to fight for an independent Patani state. By the 1980s, the state shifted its approach from pure military force to co-optation. They offered amnesty to fighters, funneled development money into the region, and brought moderate local leaders into the fold. The government projected an image of complete reconciliation. Many observers concluded the conflict was over. In reality, the insurgency was quietly rebuilding itself in the shadows, preparing to return in a completely different form. By the early 2000s, a new generation of insurgents emerged. These younger fighters were highly secretive, organizing into tight-knit cells and recruiting quietly through local religious boarding schools. The tension exploded in early 2004. In April, military forces stormed the historic Kruse Mosque after a standoff, killing 32 suspected militants who had taken refuge inside. 6 months later, during a protest in the town of Tak Bai, the military arrested hundreds of demonstrators. Soldiers stacked the men face down in the back of military transport trucks. By the time the trucks reached their destination, 78 men had suffocated to death. These 2 events shattered any remaining trust between the local population and the state, generating massive public outrage and leaving a deep collective trauma across the region. The violence of 2004 mutated the insurgency. The older, clear-cut political nationalism fell away, replaced by a decentralized, anonymous campaign driven by personal grievances and blood feuds. Today's most prominent insurgent groups, like the BRN, operate without a public face. They do not issue manifestos or claim responsibility for their attacks. Instead, they operate in small cells, heavily targeting perceived symbols of the state, including the assassination of more than 180 local school teachers. Unlike other militant organizations operating in Southeast Asia, these fighters are not trying to establish a global caliphate or participate in a worldwide religious war. Their violence is strictly a local ethno-nationalist struggle to expel the Thai government from their historical territory. For the civilians living there, daily life means navigating a claustrophobic reality. They are caught between a lethal, invisible insurgency on one side and an overwhelming, heavily armed state military occupation on the other. This constant friction breeds absolute mistrust between the local population and state authorities. The result is a fractured region that has become practically impossible to govern. Which brings us back to the government's carefully chosen words. As long as the state dismisses the historical erasure of the Patani people as mere internal disorder, This cycle of violence will simply keep burning in the shadows.